name's Beth Williams. I'm a yoga teacher and a personal trainer, and I'm here to teach a chair yoga class. This is the third class that I've recorded, and if you haven't taken the other two classes, I would recommend going back and taking those classes because they build on one another. So go ahead and give those other two a try and then come back to this one. Okay, those of you that have been with me here, you'll need some props. I have a blanket, so a nice thick cushy blanket, a yoga blanket if you have one. I have a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a folded towel in place of that. And I have a yoga strap here as well. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a tie or a bathrobe or even a belt. And of course I have a chair. So we'll be doing the majority of our practice with the chair today. And it's just a regular folding chair that you would get with a card table. If you don't have one of those, then you can use a kitchen chair or a dining room chair. Okay, so gather those props and we'll go ahead and get started. So today's practice, I wanted to start off by talking about how important it is to be able to learn how to hold on to what serves you as a person, and also learn how to let go of what doesn't serve you. And in yoga, there's this term that we use in yoga philosophy and in yoga classes called samskara. It's a Sanskrit word, and it basically translates into meaning a groove or a rut. And so if you think about a habit, a habitual pattern that you have, something that you do regularly, over and over again, you probably do it the same way just about every single time. You start to develop a pattern, neuro pathways that direct you to do it the same way. For whatever reason, maybe it's just become efficient for you. But sometimes these patterns, these pathways can become detrimental to us. And so hear me out. So let's say you have, and I'm not going to name anything specific, but you have a way that you respond or react when you're driving and somebody, cuts you off. And, you might shout an explicative or whatever. Your response to that happening is likely the same way every single time. And for some people, you may have a very knee-jerk reaction and the blood pressure rises and your face turns red and hot, and then you feel like you ruin the rest of your day because of that one incident. So that's one example. Another example of a habitual pattern would be in our physical body. So for instance, when you stand, you might tend to shift your weight into your right foot more than your left foot. Maybe it's because you have pain on the other side and you're leaning out of that pain or avoiding that pain. I'll stand here so you can see. And so let's say your left hip is what bothers you, or your left knee, and then you shift your weight over into the opposite leg to avoid putting pressure on that other side. Then over time, you may start to feel pain on this standing leg where you tend to shift more. And so it's a temporary solution that will end up causing more problems later on down the road. And so working with trying to find balance in how you stand can really go a long way and keep you from developing compensatory habits or patterns that will actually make the situation worse. So we'll be working today with the idea of changing our patterns, changing our samskaras to build new neural pathways in the way that we move and perhaps even the way that we think. But the first thing to keep in mind is that we have to notice it first. We have to notice what our patterns are, what our habits are. If there's something that is not good for your health, and if there are ways or solutions that we can build healthy patterns, whether it be the way that you think or the way that you speak or the way that you act, the way that you move. Okay, so we're going to start in chair mountain pose. So if you remember, you're going to be sitting more towards the middle of the chair, not leaning back. Have your knees bent and your feet under your knees, and find your little curve, your neutral curve in the small of your back. And sitting up tall, bringing the shoulders back, lifting the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. And we'll just start with a little centering here with our breath. I'll invite you to close your eyes now. And I want to bring about the imagery of a tree, and maybe your favorite tree, whatever tree you really love to look at when you're outside. And imagine that you are that tree. That your feet, that your seat is rooted, much like the tree roots, down into the earth to become really strong and stable. And that your torso and your spine is much like the trunk of the tree. The top of your head is much like the leaves that are extending towards the sun. And so with that imagery in mind, your tall tree, your oak tree rooted and reaching up towards the light, as you inhale, imagine, possibly sense or feel that your spine is growing longer and taller, much like the trunk of the tree, towards the light above you. And with each exhalation, do feel a sense of rooting down through your seat, out through your legs, out through your feet. And for a few more breaths, see if you can stay with that imagery, inhaling to lift and lengthen tall, all the way up to the top of the head, and exhaling to ground down, to settle. Perhaps each inhalation gives you a sense of vitality, a sense of renewal, a little spark of curiosity or inspiration. And each exhalation invites you or reminds you that you can surrender, you can let go of what doesn't serve you, what doesn't help you. And then finishing this exhalation, staying grounded and rooted, bring your hands together at heart center in a prayer position, your thumbs to your sternum. Take another breath in here, and on your exhalation, you can bow your head in towards your heart as a way of recognizing yourself and recognizing that this practice is one that can be nourishing and nurturing, practicing your self-care. And then you can release your hands down, allow your head to lift, your eyes to open. And so remembering that with your yoga breathing, that you're breathing in and out of the nostrils. Sometimes I'll remind you to breathe, especially with certain movements. But if I'm not cueing you to breathe, just remember to keep breathing in a rhythmic way. Okay, so we've been sitting here in this tall mountain pose for a while, so let's move the spine so that we can just work out any tension or bugs that we may feel in our spine. So we're going to round the back in cat pose. You can slide your hands towards the knees, round your back, pushing your back towards the back of the chair, and bringing your chin in towards the chest, and breathing here in a rhythmic manner. And then let's go ahead and bring the shoulders back and lift the chest and lift the chin a little bit. We'll pause here and breathe. Really filling up the chest area, the upper lungs with each inhale. Let's do that one more time where we round the back in cat pose. Just enjoying your breath. Bringing awareness to the breath helps to anchor you to the present moment. And then let's do the cow pose where you lift up through the chest, bring the shoulders back, lift the chin a little bit out of the chest. And the present moment is really all that we have. And most of the time, we're stuck in the past thinking about what happened and maybe how we could have reacted or responded differently, or maybe we're thinking about the future and what we want to do later on. But just remember, all that we have is the here and now. So be here now. Like Ram Dass said, be here now. Okay, sitting up nice and tall, again in your chair mountain pose. So we're going to work with circular motions in the wrists. So I'd like for you to bring your hands together and interlace the fingers. And we're going to start to circle the wrists. And for me, I'm going to start a counterclockwise circular motion. So whenever we have circular motions or flexion and extension motions in the joints, that helps to lubricate the joints. By movement, there's a slippery substance called synovial fluid that's released, and that helps to hydrate the joints and the cartilage around the joints. Okay, let's change direction here real quick. Go in the other direction. And for those of you that have arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or maybe some chronic pain, you may feel like you don't want to move, that it's painful to move. But keep in mind that if we stop moving, then it's harder to move later on. So even though it might be painful or uncomfortable, try to move as best you can. And you'll notice over time with repetition and with carefulness that you start to feel better and you get stronger and there's less pain. So that's my hope for you. We'll come back to center here. I'd like for you to turn your palms away from you. You might aim your hands down towards your knees and try to straighten your elbows. You might take your hands to shoulder height. Again, just pushing through the hands, and that stretches the connective tissue through the palms, the palmar fascia. Or you might take your arms up. They might not be overhead, but just up a little bit. Good, and then go ahead and release here. Release the hands down. And next we're going to work with something called angel wings. So we'll be working with opening the chest and strengthening the muscles in between the shoulder blades. So starting with your arms alongside your body, on your inhale, you'll reach your arms up to parallel shoulder height. Exhale, bring your fingertips to your shoulders. Make sure your elbows are shoulder height. And then inhale, bring your elbows back. Squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other. Exhale, take the elbows forward and bring the arms down. We'll do that again. Inhale, reach the arms forward. Exhale to bend the elbows. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, opening and broadening the chest. And exhaling, elbows forward, arms down. Good. 3 more times. Inhale, arms forward. Exhale, bend the elbows, fingers to shoulders. Inhale, open the chest, squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other. And exhale, elbows forward, arms along the sides. Twice more. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend elbows. Inhale, broaden the chest. Squeeze shoulder blades towards each other. Exhale, elbows forward and arms down. Good. One more time. Moving at your own pace. These angel wings. We gotta get our angel wings here. And release the arms down to the sides. Good. Take your hands to your legs now. And we're just gonna pedal our feet in place just to get some movement through the ankles and some blood flow from the feet up through the calves, back up the legs into the heart. So I'm just gonna alternate lifting my heels, keeping the toes and the ball mounds down on the floor. So our calf muscles are sometimes equated as the second pump of the heart. So when we move our feet and our legs this way, it helps to pump blood and lymph and fluid that might be building up inside of your feet and your ankles and your calves. It helps to bring it back up the legs, like I said, and back to the heart. So these simple movements can really help you to feel better later on. And some people say that after doing a practice like this, they feel like they had a massage, just like whenever they let the massage therapist. Okay, so you can calm your feet, settle your feet to the floor, and we're going to reach the arms out and up into a Y shape like this. Take a breath in here. And then on your exhalation, take your right hand down to wherever it reaches on the chair bottom and lean over towards the right. Try to keep your left sit bone heavy to the floor. To the chair. Take another breath in here and breathe out. So I'm just gently leaning over. I'm not going to my fullest capacity here. And then on the inhale, go ahead and reach that right arm up. You're back into that Y shape. And on your exhale, you can bring your left hand down, grab the chair bottom, reach over towards the left to the point where you can still keep that right sit bone anchored, rooted into the chair. Take another breath here. Exhale out your air. We'll do that twice more. We'll move a little bit faster. Inhale, reach the arms up to a Y. You're back at center. Exhale, take the right hand down, lean to the right. So keeping the same strong habits here that I mentioned. Inhale, back up to that Y shape at center. Exhale, right hand down, leaning over to the right. The left. My bad. Inhale, back to upright. Arms into a Y. Exhale, right hand down. This time we will lean to the right. And last time, inhale, arms up. And exhale to the left. And back to center. Reaching the arms up one last time here. Taking a breath in. Join the hands together. and bring your thumbs to your heart center. So we're going to add in a twist here. So I'd like for you to try to keep your knees pointing forward, your hip points pointing forward, and stay as tall as you can through your torso, all the way through the top of the head. Take a breath in here, and on your exhalation, we're going to twist to the right, just very gently, from the upper spine all the way up to the head. Head turns to the right. And as you inhale, you'll come back to center, your head returns to center. And then as you exhale, twisting to the left, head turns to the left. Twice more, inhaling back to center. Exhale, twisting to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhaling, center. Exhale, twisting to your right. And last time, inhaling to center. And exhaling, twist left. And back to center. Taking a breath in as you come back to center. Releasing the hands down to the thighs. Okay, so we will use the props, the block and the strap later. I'm just going to move those out of the way for now. And go ahead and come up to standing. And we're going to move the chair now so that the chair is at what I'll call the top or the front of the mat where you'll be facing. And you can see that I have the chair bottom facing me as I'm standing here. Okay, so that's how I want you to stand. I'm going to turn to face you for just a few moments, and we're just going to go over the standing mountain pose. But first I want you to stand how you normally stand. So whatever feels most comfortable, maybe just move your feet around a little bit and then come back into however you would normally stand. And then what I'd like for you to do after you've done that is just take a look down at your feet and see, are your feet splayed out? Is one turned out more than the other? And see if you can start to get your feet so that they're the toes are facing more forward. They can be slightly out, and your knees are facing forward. Okay. And then see if you can shift your weight back and forth into the right foot, into the left foot a few times, just to start to get a kinesthetic sense and awareness of what it feels like to have your weight into one side and then the other. And then once you've done that, once you've done those weight shifts, which can be great actually for strengthening your outer hips and your inner thighs, see if you can then start to equally ground your weight through both of your feet. Equal weight through both of the feet. Good, so this is the beginning of mountain pose. We're planting our roots. And then imagine that you can reach the crown of your head like those leaves of the tree towards the sky. Okay, so I practice this not only in a yoga class, but also throughout the day, especially when I start to notice that I'm leaning over into my left hip, which makes my right hip weaker. So I've got to balance it out so I can keep that right hip strong. All right, we're going to do some sun salutations facing the chair, and we're using the chair today as a prop. So standing tall in mountain. We're going to salute the sun. We'll sweep the arms out and up like we did earlier, making a Y shape with the arms. Welcoming the sun here, and then exhaling, hinge from your hips, bowing and gratitude for the sun, all it offers us. The hands are grabbing the chair as we fold. And then on the inhale, I'd like for you to straighten your arms and try to straighten your spine as much as you can so that it's more parallel to the floor. And just go ahead and exhale here so we can work this pose. And you can unlock your knees and put a little bit more of a curve in your low back by lifting your butt, your tailbone. And just try to get your torso so that it's parallel to the floor. And the crown of your head is reaching forward. Good. And then from here, keep hold of the chair, thumbs on top, fingers wrapped underneath. And step your right foot back, as far back as you can get it. And your left foot back. And we'll just take a breath in here. Your feet should be about 3 feet back from your chair, maybe 2 feet back. Push with your strong hands and arms so that you have more weight in your feet and legs and lengthen your spine. And we're trying to create about a 90-degree angle from the legs and the spine. You're reaching back through the tailbone. So the tailbone and the sit bones reach back and the spine lengthens. We're not rounding the spine like you would in cat pose. You're lengthening the spine. Good. Now on an inhale, look forward at your hands, look forward at the chair. Step your right foot forward. And then as you exhale, you'll step your left foot forward. And when the feet are parallel to each other, you'll then inhale to lengthen your spine into that halfway lift where your torso is parallel to the floor. And on your exhale, you can bend your knees and elbows to fold your spine, round your spine, hinge from the hips. And then on an inhale, I want you to lengthen your spine again. Press strongly through your feet and come back up to standing from that position. You gotta press strongly through your feet like tree roots to rise up. Back into mountain pose. And just pause here for a moment. Shift your weight back and forth a few times to find that you're equally rooted through both of your feet. And we'll do one more round of sun salutation. Inhale to sweep the arms out and up into that Y shape. Exhale to fold, to hinge from your hips. Take your hands down to the chair. Grab the outer chair with your hands as you fold in. Inhale to come to that halfway lift where your torso is parallel to the floor. The spine is long. Exhale to step the left foot back and then the right foot back for your downward dog. Thumbs are on top of the chair. Fingers are wrapped around the sides there. Both feet are back. Weight is in the legs. Spine is long. Just take another breath or two here. Nice long breaths. And look at the chair. On your inhale, you'll step your left foot forward, then your right foot forward as you exhale. Inhale to come to that halfway lift where your spine is long and neutral. Exhale to round your spine, bend your elbows, maybe bend your knees a little to fold forward. And then with a nice long neutral spine, press through your feet super strong to rise up to standing. Back into mountain pose. Looking forward at the horizon, like you're getting ready to watch the sun set at the horizon level. And just trusting that you can stand firm and tall in all of your knowledge, all of what you know about yourself. Your knowledge, your wisdom. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do next a standing wide angle forward fold position. So I want you to grab your chair and move it so that as you face the long side of your mat, you can take the chair, and at first you're just going to place the feet of the chair on the mat. I've got 2 feet that are closest to me on the mat. I have the other 2 feet on a floor. Okay, and then I'm going to take my feet out wide and push into the chair if you need to help you to start to heel toe your feet out a little wider so that they're wider than your outer hips, and your toes, look down and see that your toes are pointing forward and not rotated out. Okay, now once you have that position, I want you to try to stand up nice and tall through your trunk of your body, through the crown of your head, and breathe here like this. Your feet are rooted, your legs are strong. There's a sense of freedom and length through your torso as you breathe. Good. So for some of you, this might be where you stay, just working with standing tall, keeping the spine neutral. If you want to go into the forward fold, you'll just push the chair off of the mat, hands wide on the chair, and start to push the chair forward. Now when you do that, don't let your hips come forward with you. Keep your hips pushing back so that they're more in line with your heels. As you push the chair forward, your hips shift back, and that'll keep the chair from sliding too far forward. So most of your weight should be in your feet, in your legs, and a little bit of weight in your hands and arms. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then we'll slide the chair back in as you start to stand. Pull the chair in, and push down into the chair. Just step your feet in and come back to mountain pose. Okay. So next up is our warrior 2. Put the chair feet back onto the chair there. Good. Push down into the chair to take your feet wide. And the toes are pointing forward. And then from here, we're just going to pick up that right heel and turn the right heel out a little bit, and then set it back down. So the foot's kind of angled here. Push into the chair, turn the left thigh and the left foot out 90 degrees. And you'll notice that your pelvis is turned at an angle. That's fine. You want to keep it that moderate angle. And then bend your left knee to the degree that feels okay in your knee. But just make sure that you have equal weight through your back foot and your front foot. So we're setting up for warrior 2. There's 3 warrior poses. We're doing warrior 2 here. Lift up through the torso. And you might take your left arm forward, parallel to the floor. You might take your back arm back, parallel to the floor, so you're making like a cross or a T shape with your body. And then turn your head to look to your left fingertips. Now if you don't feel balanced here, you can take your right hand down to the chair to help you stay stable. And then take your hands back down to the chair. Push into the chair to parallel your feet if you need that assistance. And then if you need a break between the two sides, you can come back into mountain pose and stand. You might feel that when you come back to mountain pose, that one side feels more rooted or energized. Can you imagine if you only did warrior two pose on this first side every single time, how much of an imbalance you would have in your body? So that's why it's so important to balance things out in the physical body so that you don't have these kind of compensatory patterns which will eventually lead to acute pain and then maybe chronic pain. And eventually, let's do the other side. Take the feet out wide. Okay, so I'm finding a comfortable, moderate stance where it feels strong but not painful. There shouldn't be any pain. We're going to take that left heel out, pivot it out a little bit, set the left heel down. And then as I push into the chair, I'm going to turn the right thigh out 90 degrees, the right toes out 90 degrees, and then start to work towards bending the right knee to the degree that feels workable for you, no pain through the knee. I have some clients that can't straighten this, their knee or bend their knee at all. And so it's just working with what works for you today. And we're just going to lift up tall as we inhale all the way through the very top of the head. And just a little bit of a twist in your torso, tiny twist to your left. And you might take your right arm forward, palm facing down, parallel to the floor. You might keep hold of the chair or take that left arm back, palm facing down, parallel to the floor. So this is a balancing pose. Remembering to breathe. Remember to smile. And then we'll take the hands down to the chair, push into the chair to parallel the feet and step the feet into about hip distance apart, back to mountain pose. And hopefully now you feel more level and even from the right and the left side after doing that warrior two pose. Okay, so next up, we're going to do a posture called side angle, extended side angle. Okay, so we're going to move the chair though. So, let's take the chair to the position that we had it in sun salutation. I had to think of what that was called. Actually, let's flip it around. So it's close to the same position, but the chair back will be facing the left side of the body. And I chose to do that because I want you to have something to hold onto as you're transitioning, okay? So you'll hold with your left hand or fingertips to take your feet out wide, however many steps it takes you to turn your feet out wide. And you can see I've got the left foot and shin close to the chair. That's really important because you want to be as close to the chair as you can. So the beginning of the pose looks a lot like the warrior two pose. We're going to, if we can, if it's available, pivot that right heel out just a little bit and set it down. And then start to pivot that left foot and thigh out about 90 degrees and then bend the knee. And you can see here my foot is underneath the chair a bit and I'm bending the knee just to the point where my shin is kind of resting against the chair a little bit. Okay, now reach your right arm up alongside your right ear, and you're just going to kind of sweep it forward and up like this to lengthen your side body. Now you might keep your hand on the chair here. Notice how it makes my shoulder scrunchy when I do that. Or you can take your hand down to your thigh. Whatever works for you. Just so you have a nice long angle and a stretch on the right side. Okay, and then push down into the chair to come up. Taking that right arm down, we'll parallel the feet. Now I'll let you decide. Do you want to move the chair over to the right side of your mat, or do you just want to turn around? If you turn around, you might not be able to see me, so you can decide. Take the feet in first to hip distance apart for mountain pose. It's always good to just check in and see how you feel after you do one side. Okay, so then decide if you're just going to turn your body around for the second side of the pose, or if you're going to move the chair over to the right side of the mat. And then whichever you've chosen to do, you're going to hold the chair with your right hand and widen your feet, however many steps it takes you to widen them. Starting off with the toes pointing forward. And then we're going to take the left heel out a little bit if that's available to you, and then set the left heel down. And then push into the chair if you need to with your right hand to pivot your right leg and your foot out 90 degrees. And bend that right knee as much as you comfortably can. And then we're just going to sweep that left arm forward and up so that the bicep is close to the face. And already starting to get some length through that left side of the body. And then if you want to go a little bit more, you can lean towards the chair, either keeping your hand on the chair, the elbow might bend, or taking the hand to the thigh. Just make sure that you have some balance. Oh, this is kind of nice. You can bring your right forearm to the chair top here for a little extra support. Okay, I know that was a difficult posture. We're going to come out now. Take that top hand down. Now, some people have a hard time. They feel like they get stuck here. If that's the case, you can always put your hands into the chair, push yourself up with both hands, parallel your feet, and then step your feet into hip distance apart again for your mountain pose. And moving back to center, where everything feels more equal. So another way to look at the samskaras that I talked about at the beginning of class, it's a lot like if you were, let's say you were on a bicycle and you were riding through mud, if you will, wet mud, and you leave a tire track with your bicycle tires. And let's say that every day you ride your bicycle on that same kind of muddy track with your bicycle tires in those same grooves, if you will, right? So over time, the mud it hardens, it dries, and that's much like our brain and the way that we do things. It gets kind of stuck in a rut, if you will. And let's say that you go back out and you get on your bicycle and you go to ride and you're stuck in the rut and you can't get your tire out of that rut because it's uncomfortable to do that. It's just easier to stay in the rut. It's easier to stay in the track. We don't have to think about it. We can just kind of go through the motions like we normally do. But when you notice, okay, well, maybe I should change this for whatever reason, and you start to veer out of the rut, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be uncomfortable. And so over time, we can think of starting to kind of widen the groove and change the groove or the rut and moisten and soften the soil of our mind to start to shift out of that so we can create new healthy patterns. Okay, I've got one more yoga pose for you. That's a standing pose rather, not just one more, but one more standing pose. And this is a tree pose. And I'm gonna have you place your chair in front of you like this so that you can hold on to the chair. And so I'm gonna move the chair just so you can see what you're going to do for tree pose. So hands are going to be on the chair. Okay, imaginary chair right here for me. I'm going to shift my weight over into my left foot and tippy-toe onto the ball mound of my right foot so that my right knee bends, my right heel lifts, and then rotate the right thigh out at an angle. And this might be where you stay for your tree pose, or you might slide that foot in so that your heel is resting right above your left ankle. And so you can probably see I'm swaying a little bit like a tree that sways in the wind. That's why you have the chair there to hold you. Okay. Now if you want to challenge yourself, you can take one arm up, keeping one hand on the chair, or you might even take both arms up into that Y shape, grounding down into your roots, your strong legs supporting you, and reaching and lifting up towards the sunlight. Good. One more breath here. If you've already come out, that's okay. Next time you can work towards staying longer. Let's bring the hands back down. Let's bring them to the chair. Point the knee forward and stand in mountain pose. And then we'll do the other side. Hold the chair. Shift your weight into your right foot. Bend your left knee as you lift your left heel. Rotate the left thigh out, and you might take your heel in towards the opposite leg, right above the ankle. So this might be where you stay root down to rise up. You might lift up one arm, or maybe both. Good, one more full inhale. And an exhale, you can bring your hands down to the chair, point the knee forward, stand in mountain pose. Good, okay. So next up is a sumo squat. It's an assisted sumo squat. So with the chair, I'm going to place it so the chair back is facing the long side of the mat. And this is where your folded blanket can come into play. So I've got mine folded up so that it has as much height as is possible to where I can lay it out on the chair bottom. And we're going to straddle the chair. So that might be difficult for some of you, but I'll show you how to best get into it. So you're gonna walk behind the chair, and you can see how I'm kind of staggered here. My right foot is more to the outside of the chair. I'm going to hinge from my hips and grab the chair back, shift my weight into my right foot, and then just pick up the left foot and straddle. Land the feet down, land the sit bones down, and then readjust so that the feet are rotated out, the knees and thighs are out, and the knees are more or less over the heels. The heels might be a little further back. Hold on to the chair, sit up nice and tall, and you can kind of pull on the chair a little bit to lift your chest. And just breathing here. Now, if when you place the blanket down, you feel that your feet are no longer on the floor, then that means that the chair bottom is too high for you and you need to take that blanket out. So in that case, you just lift your bum and slide the blanket out. Okay, now this might be where you stay, or if you'd like, you can work on some lifting and lowering of your bum to strengthen your leg muscles. So I am going to put some weight into the chair to do that. So feet pressing down, weight forward into my hands, and lift the hips. Notice my knees aren't straightening all the way, that's okay. And then slowly lower your bum back down to the chair and sit nice and tall. So we'll just do that a few more times at your own pace. You can exhale to push your hands into the chair, to lift your bum, and lower back down. And just keep moving with your breath. Do a few more. We did another version of this last chair class where you were doing sits and stands. Okay, last time. Okay, so earlier we did a warrior two pose, and in the warrior two pose you were using the chair to hold on to, but you were standing. So in this version of the warrior two, your thigh bone of your right leg, the first side we're going to do, is going to be planted to the chair, okay? So it won't be lifted, it'll be planted on the chair. Now how do we get there? So right leg here, you're going to start to turn your right foot outwards, push into the chair back or the chair bottom to shift your right sit bone down onto the chair, and the right foot should be on the floor and the right knee will be bent. Okay, now notice how the left knee is bent right here to start, but what I want you to try to do is to start to straighten that left leg out to the side and press the outer edge of the left foot to the floor. Use the chair to help you to turn your torso just a little bit to your left, and then maybe reach your arms out into a T and turn your head to look to the right. Now if this is not happening for you, maybe your chair is the wrong size, or maybe you're having issues with your knees, you can do warrior two like we did earlier where you were standing, and that's fine too. This one's more of a supported version, whereas the other one you're working a little bit harder. Okay, and then we'll take the hands back down to the chair, and we're going to rebend the left knee. Walk the left foot in so it's closer in towards the chair, and then just come back into a sumo squat. Your knees are pointing out, your toes are pointing out. And then we'll do the other side. And so from here, just as a reminder, I'm going to start to turn the left toes out and start to shift my left thigh bone so that it's supported by the chair. Okay. The left knee is bent, the left foot is on the floor. And from there, I'm going to start to walk my right foot out and straighten the right knee and try to seal the right foot to the floor. And use the chair with your hands, leveraging a bit of a twist to the right in your torso. And then take your arms out into a T and turn your head to look past your left fingertips. So really trying to keep your torso more upright and vertical and not leaning to one side here. Good. We'll take the hands back down to the chair. Walk your right foot back in. Kind of notice how I'm heel toeing it back in closer to the chair. And then just push down into the chair to get your hips level into the chair. Okay. Good. So let's just do some finishing work here. However's easiest for you to come out of this. I'm going to shift my weight into my right foot as I stand and unstraddle that left foot back down and coming out of it the way I went into it, just reversing the stages. So I'd like for you to have your block and your strap close by, and let's flip the chair around so that you're facing same direction we started in today, our chair mountain pose. And just have my strap close by, and we're going to place the block in between the inner upper thighs, and I've got it at a setting to where I can keep my thighs and my knees and my feet about hip distance apart for chair mountain. Okay, so we're going to be working with just a little bit of core work with breath and with squeezing the block with the strength of your inner thigh muscles, which will activate your pelvic floor and your transverse abdominis, your lower abdominal muscles. And actually they're your deepest abdominal muscles, so closer to your organs. So what you're going to do is breathe in through your nose, and as you exhale, blow out of your mouth like you're blowing through a straw, and squeeze the block with the strength of your inner thighs. Let all of the air empty out. On your inhale, release the squeezing effort. Not so much so that the block drops though. And then on your exhale again, squeeze the block, blow out of the mouth until all of the air empties, feeling a contraction in your low belly. And we'll repeat that a few more times. Inhaling, releasing the squeeze. Exhale to squeeze. Blow out of your mouth until all of your air has emptied out. And do that twice more. Exhaling, squeeze. Inhaling, release. Exhale, squeeze. Inhaling to release. So hopefully you felt some muscles that you haven't felt in a while, or maybe it's just reaffirming to you that you can feel your core engaging. This is a very simple exercise that you can do throughout the day. If you don't have a yoga block, you can always use a folded towel or something like that. But yeah, it just helps you to get your core muscles back online again. Sometimes our muscles, when we don't use them, they get sleepy, if you will. They don't engage when they're supposed to. So we can do exercises that can be effective in getting those muscles to engage again. Okay, so let's add in a twist from here. You're going to squeeze the block gently this time. Keep it squeezed so that your knees and your hips stay pointing forward. Sweep the arms out and up on an in-breath. And on your out-breath, take a twist to the right. Your right hand can come behind you on the chair back. Your left hand can cross over to your outer right thigh. And with each inhale, I want you to really focus on lengthening your torso from your tailbone through the top of your head. And with each exhale, focus on twisting gently to your right. And we'll just pause here and breathe. Inviting you to notice any places that feel tight or sticky. And inviting your breath to help to revitalize that area, to bring space to that area. to center. Pause at center. You can remove the block for just a moment to give your legs a little bit of a break before we do the other side. And then insert the block again. A little gentle squeeze there. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, take a twist to the left. Left hand behind you on the chair back. Right hand to the outside of the left thigh. Inhaling to lengthen the spinal column all the way through the top of the head. And exhaling to rotate to twist. Even allowing your head to rotate to a comfortable degree. And maybe noticing here, are there any places that feel tight or stiff or sticky? It could be from habitual patterns that you have, could be from sitting a certain way, could be from an old injury. And coming back to center. Now, one of the key things with yoga is that it helps to really build your awareness so that you really start to notice. You notice more about yourself, you notice more about your body, the way that you breathe, the way that you feel when you move, when you don't move. And when we are aware, we have that awareness of how we think and how we move and how we speak and how we act. It's with that awareness, it's in the noticing that we can decide, is this something that is beneficial for me? Is this something that helps me to move forward in life? Or is this something that holds me back or that harms me or that harms other people? And it's in that noticing that you can learn the distinction and decide if you want to change your patterning, the way you think, the way you move. And it takes time, but it's worthwhile. It's worth your time. You are worth your time. I tell people, as long as we're going to be here, as far as we know, we have the time, right? We have the time to shift, to change. Let's finish off with a calf stretch. So we'll just take our strap and place it around the ball mound of the right foot. And this time you can lean back into your chair. It should feel pretty good. You might have to scoot your hips forward or back to do that. And go ahead and straighten your right knee. And with the straps in your hands, straighten your arms. And on your exhale, you're going to pull your toes back towards your shin with the strap. And on your inhale, you can push into that strap to to extend your foot. So it's inhale to flex the foot and exhale to extend the foot at the ankle. So if you're tight through your calves, you'll perhaps feel that, but this is just another way to get the blood, the lymph to flow back up the legs to the heart. Good, and then let's switch other sides. You can bend your right knee, lower the right foot down and change feet. Inhale to point the toes, exhale to flex. Another thing that you may think is a little bit of wisdom or wise words when you are working towards letting go of habits or changing. I don't recommend changing what you want to change. I don't recommend changing more than one thing at a time. It can be maddening if you do. And we set ourselves up sometimes for failure if we bite off more than we can chew. So you have to learn how to prioritize. And maybe it's just drinking an extra glass of water a day, or maybe it's adding yoga to your life. Maybe it's sleeping an extra 30 minutes. But one thing at a time, until you can really assimilate it, and it becomes a new habit. It becomes a rut, something that you can just go through and do without any discomfort. And so when you've assimilated that new pattern, and you find that it's really helpful for you, then you can start to bring awareness and prioritize something else you want to shift. So it takes time. Be gentle with yourself. Okay. Let's finish off with a breathing exercise today. A very simple breathing exercise. Sitting up nice and tall. Take your hands together in Anjali Mudra and close your eyes. Breathing in through the nostrils, allowing your lungs to completely fill with air. And at the top of that inhale, just notice that there's a little pause before you start to exhale. Exhaling through the nostrils, letting all of your air empty out of your nose, all the way out. Notice at the bottom of your exhalation, there's a little pause before you start to inhale, letting the in-breath fill the lungs completely. Noticing the natural pause at the top of the inhale before you exhale completely. Noticing the natural pause at the bottom of the exhale before you start to inhale. And we'll do this a few more times, fully aware of each inhale from beginning to end, the pause between the inhale and the exhale, fully aware of the full exhale from beginning to end, and the natural pause at the bottom of the exhale. One more time, noticing the breath in this way. And at the bottom of your exhale, give a bow of your head in towards your heart. Let the breath be natural. And in gratitude to yourself for this time that you've given yourself for this practice, giving a bow of recognition. Recognizing all that you do for yourself. Breathe that recognition, that acknowledgement in. Breathe it out, let go of whatever expectations you have. And breathe in the acknowledgement that we're doing the best that we can, and that we have the choice to change and shift at any moment. Breathing out any judgment, any criticism. Breathing in, breathing out. And when you're ready, you can recite Namaste if you would like, as I say Namaste. which means the light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. Namaste. Now feel free to lie down on your bed for about 5 or 10 minutes and just let all of the practice today, all of the ideas, the movement, the patterning to assimilate into your body, into your mind, into your heart, before you move on about the rest of your day. And let me know how the practice went for you. You can leave a comment in the comment section below. All right, thank you. I hope you'll join me again for another chair yoga class, or you can also do restorative or gentle yoga. Instead of being on the floor, you can use your bed for the poses where we're lying down, and you can use a chair, much like we have in this practice, for the standing up poses. All right, take care.